Welcome to Can Angels Fly? I'm Nancy. And today we're here to learn how to read tarot, at least to gain a basic understanding of how to read tarot. Now, the tarot, a standard tarot deck, here's the box to my deck. And this is Rider-Waite Tarot. And the tarot deck is broken up into, I'd say maybe five main categories. The first category is called the Major Arcana. And the Major Arcana consists of 21 cards. Then there is the 4 suits, or the 4 elements of our ram, which are cups, representing water, wands, representing fire, pentacles, representing earth, and finally swords, representing air. I hope I said that right. Now, each of the elemental suits, cups, wands, swords, and pentacles, I believe has 13 cards, but let me verify, or 14. Let me verify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. It's 14 cards per suit or element. Again, when I say suit or element, I am referring to the wands, the swords, the pentacles, and the cups. For this video, I just want to give you or offer you a basic way to understand the tarot. Hopefully, to make it easier for you to learn how to remember the tarot and how you can interpret or spray it for yourself. So the first thing we're going to look at are the Major Arcana cards. Remember, there are 21 of them. So that immediately suggests that this video will be a little long, but I'll try to move through quickly. I hope I will be able to do this within an hour. So right now, first category associated with the, hold on. So, the Major Arcana is as follows. The very first card is 0, and it's the Fool card. You can think of the Fool card as a new beginning. An example of a new beginning is your birth. That's a new beginning. And every time this, every time the magician, or not the magician, sorry, every time the Fool goes around the block or lives a year, this Fool has the potential to graduate to the next level. It's just the same way like in life. You're born, you're considered age 0, you live for a year, and then you go to age 1. But within that first year, you are expected to learn certain things. What do you learn how to do in the first year? One of the things that one may achieve in the first year of life is moving from a bottle feeding into eating foods gradually. One moves from being carried around to toddling into beginning to walk. And so that's a great example of how you can view the Fool. Now, this Fool, of course, is relative to every experience we have in life, where we have a beginning and we have to progress into a level of mastery, and then we graduate and we move on to the next level, or we go take another lap around the block. That's 0. Major Arcana 1 is the Magician. The Magician represents that moment in time, example, in the first year of your life, where you learn to crawl successfully. Then you learn to toddle or to walk. You begin to master yourself. If you've ever seen a small child who's a toddler, not only do they know how to toddle or walk, they also have mastered crawling. They know when to use it for it to be beneficial to them. The same concept continues throughout our lives. Once we have an experience, we learn from the experience, we continue to progress forward, and we're able to use that information, the knowledge, the know-how, the skills that we acquired from earlier experiences. That's an example of the Magician card. Number 2, Major Arcana, is the High Priestess. And the High Priestess represents like Sophia or wisdom. The High Priestess is when a person gets to a place where they can foretell what will happen. Still using the example of our small child who begins to learn how to toddle or walk, they are familiar, remember, more familiar with the crawling process because it came first. But then when they begin to walk, a part of them learning to walk or toddle is that they fall. They fall down. As that child progresses and gets better at walking, that child becomes aware that it's possible, they can foresee that they may fall. When might a child fall? Well, when their progression or their path that they're walking has an obstacle. It could be something as small as a cord laying in the floor or a rug. The child eventually becomes aware that that rug or that cord can be a challenge. The child can begin to foresee that it has difficulties crossing obstacles. The child becomes aware if it goes to cross this obstacle that it may fall down. So the child eventually learns to do what? Walk around the obstacle. To walk around the cord or the rug. That is executing knowledge previously obtained from a previous life experience. The use of it, the execution of that wisdom and knowledge is considered wisdom. And that is a prime example to explain the High Priestess. Of course, once again, as it will continue to be as I move through the major arcanas, those type of experiences are not limited to our earlier years or our preliminary years. It continues throughout our lives. The High Priestess just reminds us that we've gone through a life experience that has offered us some knowledge and has allowed us to build up a skill set that if we are actively aware of what's taking place, we can lean upon that old information to help us successfully meet the challenge. That's wisdom, execution of past knowledge. Now, there's a jump at this point in time in the tarot, the major arcanas. As we've covered thus far, it's the Fool, the beginning, the onset, a new project, a new life, a baby being born. Moving on to the Magician, learning how to master the challenges set before you. And the High Priestess talks about learning from the past, taking acquired knowledge and using it in present circumstances and situations to help you um, successfully address a current issue, the execution of wisdom. Now at this time, you're going to get introduced to the next two major Arcana cards, and it's number 4 and number 5. Number 4 is the Empress. Number 5 is the Emperor. And why am I introducing these two together? Because the Empress represents the feminine energy or the Yang energy. It is a highly receptive energy. It is an energy of fertility and of abundance, where the Emperor represents the masculine energy or the Yin. Yeah, the Yin, the masculine energy, and is very active and reactive. Is very forceful and powerful. Now, when I talk about the Yin and the Yang energy, or the masculine and the feminine energy, I'm talking about the energies that we as individuals have to learn to balance both of these energies within ourselves. However, if you're born female, a woman, then your primary energy most likely will be that of the Empress, the feminine energy, the Yang energy, the receptive energy. When I say receptive, I'm talking about something that takes in, that is accepting, and also able to push back out or contribute in the world, giving a bounty or a harvest. An excellent example of how women give back into the world or contribute into the world bountifully is by having children. And so the High Priestess represents that energy. But even though you may be born a woman or a female, you also possess the masculine energy as well, that at some point you will have to execute. And the masculine energy, remember, represents this assertive energy. It is being organized, disciplined, in control. So if you're born female, how might this manifest in your life? Well, in order to give birth as a female, you have to push. You're assertive. You are forceful in what? Your execution of delivering a baby. This is just an example. Because right now, I'm talking about the yin and yang energy. I'm talking about the negative and positive polarities. I'm talking about male and female, or what is it? The law of gender, and also the law of opposites. When we talk about the 4th and 5th major arcana card, which again is what? The Empress and the Emperor. They are the masculine and the female energy. And each of us possess both energies. And although we may, again, be primarily one over the other, why? Because we are born into a female avatar or a male avatar. We still have both energies. Another thing about the Empress and the Emperor, we can think of them as counterparts, is that in our lives as we move forward, some people in general, their characters can be more receptive and calm and cool and appealing and calm, cool, appealing, and just very nurturing and kind of humble and accepting, the Empress. Where other people have the characteristics and behaviors of being the Emperor. More, again, what? Stern, disciplined, direct, and forceful. So why am I going over that over and over again? It is because these two cards, the 4th and 5th major arcana, the Empress and the Emperor, represents our energy. It represents our energy. We are born one gender or the other, and we execute our expression through one energy, masculine, or the other, feminine, or in reverse. I hope I made that make sense. So far, we're talking about what? The layout of life. The major arcana talks about the basic formula associated with living in this life. You're born with the Fool card. The magician lets us know that we have to master each challenge every step of the way. And the high priestess lets us know that if we are successful, we will acquire knowledge that we can use for future circumstances and situations. The execution of that knowledge is wisdom, the wisdom of the high priestess. And the empress and the emperor represents the yin and yang. It represents the law of gender, the law of polarity. It also has to do with did I say the negative and positive? Or the male and female energy. Now, the next card, card number 6, is, no, this is card number 5. That's a 1, 2, 3. That was 3 and 4. I apologize, but I'm starting again. The high priestess. No, the empress is number 3, and the emperor is number 4. So, correction. The empress is major arcana number 3, and the emperor is major arcana number 4. Right now, we're moving on to 5. And 5 is called the Hierophant. And the Hierophant, you often hear me describe as a representative of any major influential institution, a teacher, a doctor, a doctrine. It's a teacher who teaches a doctrine. It could be a philosopher, a religious leader, just any major, again, influential institution that has or teaches a doctrine to its followers. And this Hierophant is a possible authority figure in your life or our lives. So let me see if I can make this make sense as I attempt to teach the tarot the way I understand it. When we talk about the Hierophant, keeping with being born into this world, having to learn everything from walking to tying our shoes and fire's hot, etc., etc., and finally gaining a level of wisdom over time. We are either male or female. We are negative or positive. We execute either the yang or yang energy primarily, but we are expected to balance both energies. The next thing that we encounter in our lives are those major influential institutions, whether it's the family structure. Our family takes us to church and indoctrinates us into some religion. Or we start elementary school and we go, K through 12 or higher. The Hierophant represents these monumental indoctrinations that we are introduced to in the course of our lives. The next major arcana card is 6. After that, we kind of do the Lovers card thing. We get to grow up and move outside of our homes, and we meet that other often. We join forces with others and we have great camaraderie with them. The Lovers card represents a level of intimacy. We don't have everybody in our world, but there are some people that we do get closer to. Sometimes, even though we may have multiple siblings, we may be more closer or intimate with one sibling or favorite one sibling over another. Then there are people in our community that we don't speak to, but then there are others that we do frequent. And then, of course, it's when you meet that sweetheart or that lover that you join forces with them and you have some very intricate life experiences that will basically change your destiny. That is the Lover's card. The next card is the Chariot card, and it's number 7. Number 7, the Chariot card, still dealing with the major arcanas, is the Chariot card. What does the Chariot card mean? What can it really mean? Well, the Chariot card is defined as being able to be in control of oneself, maintaining balance, and being able to move forth in life boldly and bravely and confidently. Now, how does that fit in the story that I'm making, the storyline that I'm creating? Once a person, possibly you or whoever is inquiring an answer from the tarot, meets someone and forms a lover's bond with them, a person has potential to do two things. Either a person can lose themselves in the other, or they can continue to move forth out into the world. What? Boldly, in self-control, maintaining balance and equilibrium, expressing and imposing their will into the world. And that's what the Chariot card represents. It is even though you or another, an acquirer, is in connection with another or others, you still are an independent agent and you have the option to move forward boldly, aggressively, and confidently if you so wish to. Now, what I haven't talked about thus far is when the cards fall in reverse. So I'm going to stop and talk about the 7 cards that I've talked about so far. And what I'm going to do is just give you a quick description of each of the cards in reverse. So let's start back with the Fool card, because you know the Fool card upright, I use the example of being born. Let's say a person is born and they live a few years. Let's say we get to the teen years and it's time to loop around the corner one more time. You're about 15 though, this time around. Now, age is just an example of one of the cycles that the Fool represents, the beginning of a new cycle, a new project. One could have graduated. But with the Fool in reverse, this person didn't graduate. At the age of 15, they may have literally failed a grade in high school. The Fool would come up in a spread in reverse. Why? Because that person, in this case our high schooler, our 15-year-old high schooler, failed to pass his classes in this past year. So now when the new year starts up again for the new school year, that 15-year-old high school student hasn't graduated, hasn't moved to the next level, and is going right back around the block on the exact same level. Keeping with our example, doing the exact same classes. Fool in reverse. That's just an example of how the cards work. The next card suggests that that high school 15-year-old student didn't master, let's say, mathematics. They didn't get algebra. They don't understand it. Magician in reverse. The next, remember, is the High Priestess. She's in reverse. The High Priestess, remember, is the revealer of secrets. But the secrets only come when one masters past life experiences, when they clearly learn from them. Our 15-year-old high school student didn't learn algebra. They failed. So what happens? As the high school student progresses in the new school year, They cannot foresee, like, what do you call it? What do they call it when they, formulas, the various formulas. They can't foresee the formulas. They don't understand it. The high school student can't foresee, if they're going to pass the class or not. They can't foresee. And the reason why is because they didn't learn enough algebraic rules in order to apply them or foresee what the answer would be in order to help them get a better grade. I'm trying to keep with the same story to make it make sense. Hopefully it's working. The next card is the Empress in reverse, as well as the Emperor in reverse. Once again, we're right back to the yin and yang, the positive to negative, the laws of polarity or opposites or gender. And when these two cards come up in reverse, they suggest that a person is displaying the negative qualities of that gender or the negative qualities of that energy. Earlier, I was talking about how the Empress represents the feminine energy, very delicate and receptive and abundant, has the ability for fruits and fertility, and is fertile and things like that. But when this card is in reverse, it suggests the negative side of that. Possible not being fertile or willing to have kids or to be receptive. It's like closing oneself out. One could become very nasty and just shut down. Because the female energy is, again, receptive, accepting something in. And so with the Empress in reverse, it's just the shutting down. It's just like a woman crossing her legs, shutting it down, that kind of energy. Where the masculine energy, or the Emperor, the Emperor in reverse, or the masculine energy, would be displayed negatively. It's a such thing as reacting to a circumstance or situation, or being reactive or explosively reactive. The explosively reactive energy would be the negative expression of the Emperor in reverse. The Emperor in reverse represents a masculine energy that lacks control, is not ordered nor disciplined nor stern with himself. It's almost like this kind of, what do you call it? Just this reckless is the word I'm looking for. Reckless use of male energy. It's never contained, controlled, or refined. The next card, of course, is the Chariot card. Wait a minute, is that incorrect? I done jumped or something. Let me put my glasses on. That's another thing I can't see. No, it's the Lover's card. I missed something. Oh, I'm just terribly out of order here. What did I do? Oh, okay, right, okay. The next card is the Hierophant, and he's in reverse. Now, remember, the Hierophant talks about that moment in time that you're introduced to a major influential institution, or a person is introduced to a major influential institution, whether it's a religious institution, a family structure. It could be taught by the matriarchs of the family, or the guardians, professors, gurus, teachers, philosophers. And those kind of doctrines, once learned, are embodied by a person. And those doctrines govern the way a person thinks, and therefore how they act. When the Hierophant comes in reverse, it suggests that that major influential institution and that doctrine a person has been exposed to, but they have rejected it or will not follow it. The next card is the Lovers in reverse. Remember, we were talking about how when the Lovers card comes up, we are joining forces with others on an intimate level. Whether it is we are more closer or favor a particular family member over another, or we are friends or more closely related to or frequent people in our community, or it's that intimate connection we have with another, like a real life lover, spouse, or things like that. When the Lover's card comes in reverse, it suggests that that relationship, although you have selected to be to favor that person and to be intimate with them and allow yourself to be vulnerable before them and to share and to have these unique life experiences that teach you something, that the relationship is not going well. Um, the Lover's card in reverse suggests some type of conflict in the relationship or imbalance that is happening. When this Lover's card pops up, we begin in reverse, we begin to get this idea that the relationship has ran its course. All life lessons have been taught, and all you have to do is tap into what you were supposed to learn from the relationship. The Lover's card also is the card, as far as I'm concerned, the card of soulmates. And so, in keeping with the example, that soulmate connection was for a reason and a season. And when the Lover's card comes in a reverse, that season is over. The next card, and the last card before we go back to finish the major arcana, are or is the Chariot card in reverse. And trying to keep with the examples that I've given, when our lovers end our loving relationships end, our intimacy is betrayed, or there's a breakdown or instability in our most intimate connections, it really throws us off. Here we have the Chariot card in reverse. It really throws us off. Many times a heartbroken person or disappointed person cannot or will not move forward boldly and confidently in the world, paving their way through life. No, they feel discombobulated, thrown off, and out of control sometimes. And it's just this lack of confidence that many people suffer when such experiences happen as what love, the end of love, or the breakdown of a relationship or partnership that we thought especially was our soulmate. Chariot card in reverse. Now, we're going to continue with the next card. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to keep them in order. Let's see. Trying to keep them in order. Hopefully I didn't stop the stream. Well, I gotta move through faster. I don't know what it is. How many minutes am I on? Okay, 35 minutes or 34. Okay, the next card is the Strength card, and the Strength card number is number 8. And the Strength card really points to one's lower self, being in one's lower self. Just like the card before, which is the Chariot card, when it comes in reverse and you're feeling out of control, or a person feels out of control, lacking confidence, one can surely sink down into their lower self. So what does it mean to be within your lower self? Well, that can correspond with the root chakra, the red chakra, which is about survival. It's about satisfying urges and desires and things like that. That energy itself suggests that well, I'm talking about the strength card as if I'm talking about it in reverse. So the strength card itself talks about rising above that particular chakra, the red chakra, the one about survival and satisfaction and thriving, just the basic natural instinctive drives and urges. You overcome them. You move up into like the heart chakra, love, as well as the crown chakra, thinking, uh, perceiving and seeing clearly as you move forth through life. So the strength card, as you can see, there's a woman who has a lion by its mouth. You are able to restrain yourself from simply being, this card in reverse, preoccupied with the lower root chakra, with the survival, with the urges, with the desires and things like that. You overcome them. So at this point in time, as I continue to move forth and complete the major Arcana cards, I'm going to do the remainder of them upright as well as in reverse. So we continue, I'll say, living our lives. We leave off with the strength card. Either a person, keeping with our last example, who has been in an intimate, committed relationship, that lovers, that has ran its course. And now the parties, the two people, are at odds. The harmony, the balance, and bliss and all that is gone. And the next card was the Chariot card. At one time, the person that was in that relationship felt great. They could move forward. They were confident. They were like boss material. But when the relationship went south, so did this imaginary person's self-confidence. Chariot card in reverse. And not only does that throw the Chariot card in reverse, it also throws the Strength card in reverse, has the possibility of throwing the Strength card in reverse. Because now that other has to overcome those urges and desires and root fears and things like that. The sense of not feeling like their best self or that they're special. They may struggle with keeping the Strength card upright and moving forth in their higher self and keeping their hearts open and their minds open in order to see clearly their path forward in life. Now, again, reading each card, each major Arcana card. I dropped this out of the way. Okay, from the bottom. Reading each of the remaining Arcana cards upright and in reverse. Just trying to give you a basic understanding of how the tarot flows so that it would hopefully make it easier for you to remember. So the next card is number 9, and it is the Hierophant. As you can see, the Hierophant is an old cat looking into a lantern. He's reflecting. And if we would lay these cards in order, in chronological order, this Hierophant, this Hermit would be looking back over all the cards that we've read thus far. It's like a person taking time to look back over their life experiences. Yeah, the Hierophant looks back at each age, the fool going around the block, or graduation, each level, each life experience and cycle. He looks over that. He looks and finds out what he has mastered and achieved in life. He looks back and understands what wisdom he has acquired. He looks back and understands if he or she moves through life balanced using the masculine and feminine energy, or which energy is predominant in the other's life, which energy might one be stronger in and weaker in. These are the things that the hermit looks at when he pierces into his lantern. He also looks at all, or he, the hermit, he or she looks at those outside forces, influences, like the major influential institutions, the family upbringing, the religious sect, looks at all that. Because the hermit comes to realize all of that is a part of him or she. This is general. The hermit also looks back at those significant partnerships, those lovers and things, and sees what has been learned, what has been experienced, and what has been learned. You're going across the street?
Yeah, but not all night.
So we have next the Chariot card. Remember, keeping with the example, a person may have gotten into a relationship and it was great, and they felt confident and bold and courageous, and they move forward in life, paving their way. The Hierophant reflects back upon the past, back upon the past, looks and says, and remembers those times that he, the hermit, he or she, was confident and was bold. And he draws this correlation between a successful relationship and being able to move forward boldly. And then he or she, the hermit, also reflects and remembers the times that he or she wasn't confident, and draws a correlation with possibly a broken relationship. Now, of course, the tarot is interpreted differently depending on how the cards are laid out in the layout, and if they are in reverse or upright. And so what am I saying? An example here, right here, taking a pause to give an example. When I talk about the Lover's card and it being someone that you choose to be intimate with, connected with, vulnerable before, and you're having this life experience with them, let's say a romantic relationship, and it may end poorly, possibly. Not all people immediately, express a negative or reverse Chariot card of being thrown off and lacking confidence. That's not always the case. So if we have, I hope you can see here, just an example. The Lover's card were to come in a spread, upright, letting us know that the person that is inquiring, acquiring or seeking understanding through the tarot, I'll say, that their relationship they're having with someone is positive, and they're able to move forward boldly. But it is possible that in a spread that the cards could fall like this, as an example. So even though a person is having a positive, intimate connection with another, they still can be thrown off and feel a lack of confidence or out of balance with the Chariot card in reverse. But why? Why? See, the answer to why is found in the other cards surrounding these very two cards. That was just an example of how the spreads can be interpreted in various ways. So I digress from that, and I continue talking about how the Hierophant, not the Hierophant, y'all forgive me, the Hermit reflects back over the cards that came before him. And he or she, the Hermit, piercing in his lamp, also looks upon the Strength card, those moments of weakness when one has fallen into their lower self, and they have given over to fear and just their urges and desires and base instinctual needs and things like that. Or this Hermit energy reflects upon the moments when one was able to being their higher selves and overcome, you know, any obstacles or life challenges and things like that. When the Hermit is in reverse, the person doesn't take time to look at any of these things, but instead continues to move forward without learning from the past. The next card after the Hermit is the number 10, and it's the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune has to do somewhat with fortune, a little. Fortune as far as time periods, so fortunate time, or it's more like telling one's fortune. Either the time is for public displays, advancements, career moves, things, you know, you're getting these opportunities to make your mark in the world with the Wheel of Fortune. But when the Wheel of Fortune is in reverse, it suggests that it's not the appropriate time. Let me play on the words again. Reading the fortune. The Wheel of Fortune. Reading the fortune. In reverse, it suggests it's not a time to make those big career moves or career advancements or to enhance one's reputation or status. Actually, it may be the most inappropriate times, and the effects can be negative. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse also talks about rather than making it bad for yourself because it's not the right time, the energy is not supporting a person in, you know, again, their career advancements or whatever their ambition is, or their reputation or their status. It's not the right time. That maybe it's time to like kind of withdraw into the 4th house. Because see, the Wheel of Fortune represents the 10th house. We're talking about astrology again. You know, I say again because in part 1, when we were dealing with the playing cards, we realized, you know, we talked about how in order to interpret the cards, you got to kind of have to know some basics about astrology. And so, once again, this is the case, and it will continue to be the case throughout this video. So, when you're talking about the Wheel of Fortune, when it's in reverse, okay, yeah, I can't see it in the camera very well, but when it's in reverse, it talks about rather than, you know, taking this chance right now because it's not the best time. Oh, I was talking about astrology. I'm sorry, jumping all over the place, jumping all over the place. Astrology. When we're dealing with the Wheel of Fortune card, it talks about that zodiac wheel. This Wheel of Fortune is the zodiac wheel. And when it's upright, the 10th house, the zenith, the house of fame and fortune and opportunity is at its pinnacle, it's at its height. Take the chance, the opportunity, the time is now. But when it's in reverse, it points back to the other side of astrological wheel in astrology, which is the 4th house. Maybe you should lay low, stay home for a while, get some rest and relaxation. Take this time to plan your course of action when the time is right. That's the Wheel of Fortune. The next card is the Justice card. Now, whatever you decide to do with this Wheel of Fortune, justice is right behind it. So let me try to give you an example. When dealing with the Wheel of Fortune upright, remember, that's the zenith. The time is now. It's about career advancement, fame, fortune, being in the public's eye, those kind of things. Now, whatever happens out there in that world, you have justice. It could be public marriage, you know, that you get married by the justice of the peace. It could be law cases that end up coming up, you know, those kind of things. So how am I saying this? Remember, when I was talking about the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, it might not be the most appropriate time to be out here in pursuit of your greatest ambitions. Might not be the time. It might be a better time to stay at home, plan, relax, plot your course of action for a better time. But if you choose to go out there when the wheel of fortune is in reverse, when the time ain't right, and you're going to keep pushing forward to enhance that career, enhance your reputation or your status, well, if something negative happens, it's nobody's fault but your own with the justice card in reverse. The justice card also suggests that there's evidence that is always present. I think we call them more or less synchronicities, or you keep seeing signs that it's not the appropriate time. And so when a person overlooks the signs, ignores the signs, the red flags and things like that, or the synchronicities that suggest one shouldn't move forward, if there's a negative effect, then the justice card in reverse says you must be able to stand um, and accept your shortcoming or possibly even the criticism of another, because the evidence showed you, whether it was a synchronicity or a clue or something like that, that it wasn't the time. And so either you have to try to line yourself up with the appropriate time to pursue certain things when it comes to the wheel of fortune, because there could be repercussions, as the justice card is the next card. The next card is the 12th card, and the 12th card is the hanged man. And the hanged man represents another card like the hermit. Remember the one that looked into the lantern, the older cat that pierced into his lantern to look back over his past life and past experiences? Well, the hanged man is present right here, right now, and looks at what's taking place right here and right now. The hangman has the potential to get some great ideas just by doing what? Taking a pause, taking a breath, taking the time to think, to ponder, and to pay attention. What's the last thing I suggest that one might want to pay attention to when it came to the Wheel of Fortune? To synchronicities, to clues, to red flags that crop up in one's life. Well, the hangman is the one that shows that a person will or will not pay attention to those synchronicities. Take the time to think, to ponder, and to do what? Possibly come up with a fabulous idea. When the hangman is in reverse, a person doesn't take that opportunity to breathe, to smell the roses, to ponder, and to think. The next card is number 13, I do believe, but let me put my glasses on. Yep, number 13, and it's the death card. Now, you know, death card can mean a natural death, but to read an actual physical death in the tarot would have to be composed of some very specific cards. And so we're not going to go there. But the death card in general suggests that the time has come that one must change something or transform it. If it is not changed or transformed or mutated in some way, it will die out, whether it's a relationship, a job, or interest. The death card can even suggest like boredom to the point you don't want to do something anymore. You've done just way too much, you know. And so the death card just lets us know that when we see it. Now, the death card, when it comes in reverse, suggests that it is not the time period for a change, but that one should keep on persevering, keep on moving forth on what they're working on. That's just an example. The next card is the Temperance card. And the Temperance card represents, I think of it as a storm brewing. And one has to find their central point of stability. And you got to ride the wave. You have to be able to maintain one's balance. And the Temperance card to me is a very spiritual card, as you have to depend upon like things that you can't see, like faith, you know, in order to stay yourself, to stay calm, to again find your center. When the Temperance card is in reverse, it's suggesting that a person can't tap into things that are unseen, like faith and hope and things like that, in order to ride out some storms or some rough times. They are literally tossed in the storm with the Temperance in reverse. The next card, or did I say that the Temperance is the 14? The next card is number 15, Major Arcana still, and it's the Devil's card. I love the Devil's card out of all the cards. As the Devil's card represents those things that satisfy us physically. It can satisfy, or I'll say pacify, our physical, worldly wants, needs, and desires. The devil represents those things that are very alluring to us in our lives, and we desire to partake in them, and we do. And many times, those things that are so alluring to us that we get a chance to partake in do a 180-degree turnaround. I think I'm glitching. Well, right now I'm talking about the Devil's card, and I was saying that the Devil's card represents the energy of the pacification of our physical, worldly wants, needs, and desires. These are things that we long for, we desire. My computer's glitching or something, so I apologize if it's glitching. And so the opportunity comes along for us to partake in those very things that are alluring to us. And after that, after we're baited in and we partake, we become hooked with the Devil's card. Number 15, we become hooked. And that very thing, the circumstances, situations attached to that alluring thing that we're partaking in, does a 180-degree turnaround on us. And many times it becomes our hell. An example is a person decides to drink a glass of wine every night over an extended amount of time. They just enjoy it so much. Maybe they go around to the different wine tastings and things like that, and it satisfies them. It fills them with joy and happiness and this level of sophistication. But after extended indulgence over time and over years, a person may develop a dependency upon wine or alcoholic beverages. And now, 180 degrees later, they're alcoholic. Devil. When the devil is in reverse, that's that moment that a person goes and admits that they have a problem. They may get AA assistance, Alcoholics Anonymous as an example, and they're able to free themselves from the bondage of that thing that was originally something that was satisfying or pacifying to one of the physical five senses. One is released from the clutches, I'll say, of the devil, or release from a vice. The next card is number 16. And here we have the Tower card. Ooh, the Tower card. Now, the Tower card seems to be fairly self-explanatory, as it looks like destruction. And when the Tower card is upright, it suggests that the person that is asking tarot to help them meditate does something. They spark something. They're the trigger. You are the trigger if you're the inquirer. You trigger a circumstance, situation, or a person. And all hell, we'll say, since just leaving the devil, breaks loose. There is a destruction to a partnership, an association, a business plan. It's just whatever it is. When I'm reading the tarot, the details are directly associated with your life. So you know the answer when the Tower card comes up. What do you call it? Putting your foot in your mouth. The Tower card. Put your foot in your mouth. Or, you know, again, pushing someone's buttons or something like that. You know, ends up resulting in a whole series of events, negative events that destroys the foundation of whatever you're associated with. Let me find an example. One can be gainfully employed, and one could be an employee that is dissatisfied with work, possibly due to they're the ones that do all the work, and the co-workers seem to be slackers. And eventually, you as the worker, as the employee that does all the work, you have this moment where you may speak under your breath, a tower card moment, and another hears you, the boss, co-workers, things like that. That's the catalyst or the trigger for the breaking down of the work environment as it was, fairly functioning, workable. And after the tower moment happens, uh, it is necessary to reestablish that establishment, that work environment, or that relationship, because, or it will forever be flawed. It will forever be uh, damaged. Keeping with being an employee who does all the work and the rest of the co-workers do not. As the employee, you speak under your tongue, but someone hears you, another co-worker. Tower moment. Now that co-worker spreads what they heard you say all over the office. Now, everybody is angry at you. There's a lack of productivity. This is just an example with a tower card. And at that point in time, a person, an acquirer, possibly you, as the employee that spoke under their tongue and got heard, but didn't mean to, has to maybe have to deal with HR. Maybe it depends on how serious it is. You may have to find another location to work at. Any series of things can transpire once the tower card moment happens. Now, when the tower card is in reverse, the difference is rather than you putting your foot in your mouth, somebody else puts their foot in their mouth, and they are the trigger or catalyst to a breakdown in the foundation of whatever the scenario is. The next card is the 17th card, and it's the star card. And the star card represents those hopes and wishes, your big hopes and wishes and dreams. The star card represents this point in time in your forward movement in life, in your progression, where this is, well, before I continue with this star card energy, I have to say that I'll have to make a part 3 because I just really didn't want this little lesson to be long. I'm already at an hour. So I'm going to finish up with the major arcana now, and then I'll make a part 3. To learning how to read the cards. So let's continue. When the star card is pops up in the spread, it talks about the point in one's life where they've done all that they can do, and they can't do it by themselves. But you still have this hope, this wish, this goal, And so how do you get past the type of blockages that crop up with the star card? It's through associations, through large networks associations, through accessing other parts of humanity, with the star card. In order to reach it, you need to socialize. You need to have social exchanges. You need to get referrals and references and different, resources from others with the star card. When the star card is in reverse, it suggests that one is not doing that. Doing what? Accessing the rest of humanity to get what you want, to help you move forward. Accessing what? Social networking, others' resources, collaborations, just various ways we can work with others to get us where or what we want. And either one, again, with the star card in reverse, they're not doing that because it is they're overlooking it, or they're not able to do it due to some other circumstance or situation that exists in their life. Let me see if I can find an example. If the star card was to come in reverse, and a person is not accessing the rest of humanity or different parts of humanity, not networking in order to get what they want to move forward, but it's due to maybe the death card, as an example, in conjunction with the star card in reverse. What could that mean? That could mean that the reason why a person has not selected to, access the rest of humanity or part of humanity, or to network in order to get what they want or need to move forward in life, is because they're preoccupied with something that they were supposed to let go of a long time ago. They're still preoccupied with an old job or old relationship or old behavior pattern, etc., etc. But of course, all of those details are refined with the rest of the surrounding cards in a tarot spread. And so I move forward. The next card is the Moon card. And the Moon card, it represents one's inner emotional state, namely the psyche, and what's in the psyche. When the Moon card is upright, it suggests that one is seeking to understand what is in their psyche, the reservoir of it, because it's a collection of the sum of your feelings based on your life experiences. And a lot of people, Moon in reverse, are not aware of what's going down in the psyche, or that sunken place where there could be fears and worries and insecurities, etc., buried there, that are that, how can I say, those hidden parts of ourselves, the psyche. If it's a lot of negative trash there in that sunken place, then that negative trash, the fumes of it, comes up and has a negative impact upon our lives and our experiences and our relationships. And so when a person doesn't look there, when they're not aware of what's in their psyche or their sunken place, they don't know that the fumes are coming up and creating or wreaking havoc in their current life experiences. But when a person is successfully able to really look at we call it the dark side of themselves, the psyche or the sunken place, where sometimes it's a bunch of trash, unwanted things that we don't want to acknowledge. It's unwanted. But yet a person is brave enough to look there. How do you look there? You acknowledge what's taking place. Whether you have to go get psychiatric help or things like that. This is what the Moon card talks about. Either being aware of that sunken place or the psyche, or not being aware. If you are aware, upright Moon, you can do something about it. You can get you some help or whatever the case may be, so that you can be the best person you can be. Or Moon in reverse. You can ignore it. Never acknowledge that there is a sunken place and that your psyche may have trash that's throwing up fumes. You don't have to look there. And in not looking there, even not be aware that that is what is leading to some difficulties that one may be having. Now, one more thing I want to say about that Moon, this Moon card. It can directly, of course, be related to traumatic experiences. Traumatic experiences that you've experienced, others you may have witnessed, and others may be more generational or cultural traumas. But it is all buried in the psyche. Moving forward to the next major arcana. The next major arcana is number 19. and it's the Sun card. And 19, I have to say, 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 and 0 equals 1. And that little numerology is important because it takes us back to astrology, which is the first house. And the first house represents the house of self and how you move forward, what animates you. And the Sun talks about what animates you. As you can see, when the Sun card, the primary figure is the Sun. And the Sun represents your level of enthusiasm about life. It represents your ego and how your ego drives you and just how youthful and victorious you feel in life. The Sun represents your vital life force energy, and it represents you being in touch with Source. When it's in reverse, when the Sun comes in reverse, it suggests that one doesn't feel that great about themselves. They can have low self-confidence. They could be empty as far as energy, you know, not being connected to Source, not knowing how to refuel oneself or be revitalized and re-energized. But it's this sinking, or it's this going down energy with the Sun in reverse. It's a card of in reverse of depletion. But because it is the Sun card, it suggests that there is still a source of energy. There is still a battery source. It just needs to be recharged. It needs to be tended to. The next card is the Judgment card, and it is number 20, Judgment card. And the Judgment card is another card to reflect. It's a moment of reflection. It's the ultimate reflection, just like in biblical scriptures, judgment. It is this looking back over one's life, all of life, all the ups and downs and the lessons and the love, the hate, everything that has transpired in one's life, and coming to understand who you are at a given time and saying, is it all right for me to be me? Can I continue to move forth as I am? Let me see if I can create an example right here. At a certain point in time in a person's life, they may realize that they are a bit quirky, different, unique. They may be very silly, but they are great employees. I'm talking about somebody seasoned with life. Somebody in their 40s or 50s, you know, when you ain't supposed to be silly no more. When you're supposed to be a conformist. And this person realized they're not a conformist, that they're not serious-minded. They are the employee. They get the job done, but they just don't fit the standards of behavior. They don't. And they realize that because they are their own unique self, we're still talking about the Judgment card, their own unique self, and they realize because they're so unique that the life experiences that they had have unwound in a particular manner because they are who they are. This person may have gained a love because of their unique qualities, or this person might have lost love because of their unique qualities. And this gaining or losing has been in every aspect of their life. Some employers accepted them and others didn't. Some people teased them and others didn't. And so at a particular time, the sum of their life can read something like this. They have a mediocre job. They have a lot of friends. They don't have a lot of money, but they're very, very creative. They have, what do they call it, rich man's taste and a poor no, a rich man taste and a poor man's pocket or something like that. Rich man's taste and a poor man's pocket. And with the judgment card, at a particular time in their life, they get to say if they could continue to be that unorthodox, quirky, silly person and be okay with it, knowing that it has an impact. Who they are has an impact upon everything that happens in their life and who they are and the lifestyle they get to live. And with the judgment card, a person decides to make a final decision. Either they say, yeah, I'm okay with being me. And it's all right that I got a mediocre job and don't make much money because I got a lot of friends. And I get to be me unapologetically. That's the judgment card upright. They make a definitive decision that it's all right for them to be them. That is just an example of how that card can be read. But if the judgment card comes in reverse, then a person can say, after looking at all that about their lives, I can't continue to be me. I have to create a persona that is more acceptable, more the norm, more fitting more the standard. Because I, this person, have learned in the course of my life that if I fit the standard, every time I fit the standard, I was been much more successful in love, with money, etc., etc. Judgment in reverse. They decide that they can no longer be themselves. They cannot move forth in integrity, but they have to create a persona in order to change the results they're getting out of the world. That's the judgment card in reverse. It's just an example. Now, the final card for this part two, because it's been over an hour, is the world card. It's the world card. It's number 21. It's the 21st major arcana card. So what is the world card about? It's your world. Literally, it's your world. And all that we've talked about thus far composes your world and your life at any given time. And the world card also is a card that represents a cycle. And what cycle are we talking about here? We're talking about the cycle of life you are in now. The world card lets us know that you are in a particular cycle. It reminds you that it's your life. And there are some things that you can achieve. There are challenges that you'll have, etc., etc. And they're all directly related. When the world card is in reverse, the world card in reverse suggests that the world card lets you know that it's all directly related, but it's a continuation. But when the world card is in reverse, it's a blockage in the flow of your experience, that things are not moving forth possibly smoothly or as planned. Oh my gosh, did it stop? Hopefully it didn't stop. My computer acting up, that's a whole nother thing. Or as planned. The world card in reverse can suggest that one, of course it has to do with the surrounding cards in the spread, but that you are not the steward over your world or the controller of your world. That you may have given your energy away to another or others. Let's see. The world card, in short, is to me an example of the completion of a life cycle or a season or a period in one's life. And it goes right back into the Fool's card, which is card number 0, starting a new beginning, starting a new path, and graduating. I hope that made sense. I do apologize for stumbling over my words and all the glitches and things. I do thank you for dropping by here to Can Angels Fly Tarot and allowing me to teach you tarot the way I came to understand it. Hopefully this little lesson will help you be able to remember the tarot cards, at least the major arcanas, which are 0 to 21, more easily. If you can do that, then you'll be able to read for yourself whenever you desire to do so. Again, thank you for dropping by. And if you're ever interested in ordering your own personal tarot reading, just contact me at my email. My email is canangelsfly1@gmail.com. Until then, or until next time, bye.